Drag racing has always been about precision, power, and pushing machines to their absolute limits. But in 2025 and 2026, those limits were tested like never before. Speeds climbed past 300 miles per hour, reaction time shrank to fractions of a second, and the line between control and catastrophe became thinner than ever. Because in this sport, when something goes wrong, it doesn't just fail, it explodes, flips, and tears itself apart in the blink of an eye. Every run is a calculated risk, every launch a leap into the unknown, and every finish line crossed is never guaranteed. These are the top 10 most dangerous drag racing crashes of 2025 and 2026 moments that shocked fans, tested safety systems, and proved that even in the modern era, drag racing remains one of the most dangerous sports on Earth. Not all danger lives on the track. In 2026, a street drag racing meetup spiraled completely out of control. What started as a gathering of high-powered cars quickly turned into chaos as drivers performed high-speed stunts in public intersections. Engines roared, tires screamed, and crowds stood dangerously close to the action, with nothing but instinct separating them from disaster. Then, in a split second, one driver lost control. The car fishtailed violently, narrowly missing spectators before speeding away, triggering a police chase that only added to the chaos. Unlike professional racing, there were no barriers, no shutdown areas, and no safety crews ready to respond, just raw speed and reckless decisions. It was a chilling reminder that outside sanctioned tracks, drag racing becomes exponentially more dangerous, not just for drivers, but for everyone around them. Number 9. Justin Bond's mid-run destruction at the US Nationals. Justin Bond looked unstoppable. The launch was clean, the acceleration brutal, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. But drag racing has a way of turning perfection into disaster without warning. Midway down the strip, a catastrophic mechanical failure struck. In an instant, the car began to tear itself apart. Body panels ripped away like paper, components exploded outward, and the once sleek machine turned into a chaotic storm of debris. Bond had no time to react, no time to correct. He was simply a passenger as the car skidded violently down the track. Sparks flew, parts scattered, and the crowd watched in shock as the run disintegrated before their eyes. These types of failures are among the most feared in the sport because they come without warning, turning control into chaos in less than a heartbeat. Number 8. Nick Agostino's double wall impact. While this crash occurred slightly before 2025, its impact continues to influence modern drag racing setups. Nick Agostino lost traction early in his run, and within seconds his car slammed into one wall, then bounced violently into the other. The speed, the angle, the sheer force. It was a brutal display of how unforgiving drag racing can be. Even in 2025 and beyond, teams study incidents like this, understanding that traction loss at high speed is one of the most dangerous scenarios imaginable. One mistake, one imbalance, and the car becomes uncontrollable, ricocheting between barriers with devastating consequences. Number 7. Tony Stewart and Doug Kalitta, close call. When two elite drivers line up, the expectation is perfection. Tony Stewart and Doug Kalitta are among the best in the world, but even legends can't escape the unpredictability of drag racing. During a high-speed run, something went wrong. The cars drifted dangerously close, inching toward a potential collision at speeds approaching 300 miles per hour. In drag racing, that kind of proximity is terrifying. A slight touch at that velocity could send both cars into catastrophic crashes. For a moment, it looked inevitable, but somehow, disaster was avoided. Still, the incident served as a powerful reminder. Experience reduces risk, but it never eliminates it. Number 6. Joe Albrecht roof slide. Joe Albrecht's crash continues to define what a worst-case scenario looks like in drag racing. After losing control near the finish line, his car flipped and slid across the track upside down, sparks shooting in every direction as metal scraped against asphalt. The violence of the slide, the sound of destruction, and the sheer helplessness of the moment made it unforgettable. By 2025, safety systems had evolved to better handle incidents like this, but the fear they inspire remains unchanged. Because no matter how advanced the technology becomes, seeing a driver slide at full speed on the roof of their car is something that never loses its intensity. Number 5. Randy Couture Fireball Crash. When former MMA champion Randy Couture entered drag racing, few expected his journey to take such a terrifying turn. During a routine practice run, everything changed in an instant. The car suddenly erupted into a fireball. Flames engulfed the cockpit, smoke filled the air, and the vehicle lost control as it continued down the strip. For a moment, it looked like something out of a nightmare. Couture suffered burns, trauma injuries, and severe smoke inhalation, requiring emergency airlift to a medical facility. It was a brutal reminder that drag racing doesn't care who you are. Strength, fame, experience. None of it matters when a machine traveling at extreme speed turns against you. Number 4. Junior Dragster Tragedy. This was more than just a crash, it was a moment that shook the entire racing world. At a junior drag racing event, a young driver lost control, leading to a fatal accident. The speeds may have been lower, the cars smaller, but the risks were still real. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the community, leaving fans, teens, and fellow racers heartbroken. It forced a deeper conversation about safety in youth motorsports, and reminded everyone that even in the earliest stages of racing, the dangers can never be fully removed. Number 3. H-Town Throwdown Disaster. Some of the worst moments in racing don't just affect drivers, they affect everyone involved. At a local drag racing event, a car lost control due to mechanical failure and veered into a staging area. What followed was devastating. With insufficient safety barriers in place, the car struck an area where first responders were positioned. 2 lives were lost in an instant. It was a tragedy that went beyond competition, beyond machines, beyond speed. It exposed the importance of proper safety infrastructure and reminded the entire motorsport world that every detail, from barriers to positioning, can mean the difference between life and death. Number 2. Sean Reed 290 miles per hour crash. At nearly 290 miles per hour, Sean Reed's crash was one of the most violent of the modern era. A suspected tire failure instantly destabilized the car, sending it out of control with unimaginable force. The dragster didn't just crash, it disintegrated. Pieces of the car scattered across the track, debris flew through the air, and the sheer energy of the impact was overwhelming. Reed suffered serious injuries, including broken ribs and the loss of a finger, while even a spectator was injured in the aftermath. It was a chilling example of the physics at play in drag racing. At those speeds, even the smallest failure releases an enormous amount of energy, and controlling that energy becomes nearly impossible. Number 1. Ron Capps Explosion Arizona Nationals. The most dangerous and shocking crash of this era belongs to Ron Capps. Just before the finish line, at full speed, his funny car suffered a sudden and catastrophic explosion. In an instant, the car lost all stability. It veered across the center line and slammed into the guard wall with terrifying force. The impact was violent, sending debris across the track and leaving the car heavily damaged. For a few seconds, time seemed to stop. The crowd fell silent. Safety crews rushed in. And then, against all odds, Capps climbed out, alive. That moment said everything about modern drag racing. It showed how far safety has come, but also how dangerous the sport still is at its core. These crashes tell a deeper story, one that goes beyond the wreckage. Drag racing today is faster, safer, and more technologically advanced than ever before. Carbon fiber chassis absorb impacts that would have been fatal decades ago. Fire suppression systems activate in milliseconds. Drivers wear gear designed to withstand extreme heat and force. Safety crews are faster, better trained, and more prepared than ever. And yet, despite all of this progress, the risks remain. Because drag racing is ultimately a battle against physics. From a standstill to over 300 miles per hour in just a few seconds, the forces involved are almost unimaginable. The slightest imbalance, one failed component, one blown tire, one moment of lost traction can turn a controlled run into a violent accident instantly. There's no margin for hesitation, no time to think, just reaction, instinct, and sometimes luck. And still, the drivers come back. They strap themselves into these machines again and again. They accept the risks, face the dangers, and chase the thrill of speed. Because for them, it's not just about winning, it's about pushing limits. It's about testing the edge of what's possible and refusing to back down. That's what makes these moments unforgettable. Not just the crashes themselves, but what comes after. The survival, the resilience, the courage to stand up, walk away, and race again. Because in drag racing, danger is always part of the equation.